Hello, and welcome back to BeamNGdrive. Move my camera a little bit. In today's video, I will be showing how to basically tune vehicles. I say basically because I'm starting off with just the simple stuff to get it handling how you want. And then you can kind of experiment and fine-tune from there. First of all, I have set up a few vehicles for a visual demonstration just to give an idea of how different tuning and parts can affect the vehicle. So as you can see, I've got a drag car, I have a drift car, a pre-runner, rock crawler, and a daily. 3 of them are the same car, so you can get a better idea of how the tuning and parts play more of a role than even really the car itself. Like, sure, you wouldn't use this body in a Baja, but you could. But anyways, so as anyway, so now make sure this is recording properly again. Yep. Okay. So with this car, I'm going to redline it, put it in gear, and it's just going to go straight, basically. Torque will cause it to go a little bit left, I think. Front-wheel drive vehicles, the torque steer will make it go right, I think, just from previous history. Front-wheel drive torque goes right, rear-wheel drive with enough torque you'll want to go left if you have the grip. If you don't, you'll spin. This has grip. So, give it a little correction to the right, and other than that, it just goes straight. This car, same car, slightly different parts, different tuning. And it's just spinning. This has probably a stiffer suspension, a tighter steering ratio, so the front wheels can turn on more of an angle. I believe I said stiffer suspension. Drift cars usually have a wider wheelbase for better stability, a wing to help with traction, stuff like that. But either way, they're usually low, stiff tires, and sliding. Drag cars are low with soft, grippy tires and downforce to keep the back on the ground in line. A pre-runner, on the other hand, is a completely different story. This is built to go through the desert as fast as you can, basically. So it needs softer tires for traction, along same with if you were doing grip on, say, a track, you'd put, say, 25 psi instead of 30, because then you have slightly more tire on the ground. I can show with the white Jeep. Actually, you can kind of see with the Jeep how the tire on the bottom is flatter than this. That's because it has less pressure, and therefore it'll have more grip because there's more contact surface. But if I start up this one, and I'm just going to kind of do this, as you can see, it lifts up, drops back down. That is because it is a straight axle in back. And the way the straight axle is set up is it will, under torque, just go back. But this has, as I said, a longer travel suspension for going over jumps and stuff. So therefore, you'll want softer springs, softer shocks, longer travel, longer arms, stuff like that. So the wheel will move as little as possible. So if I go like this, you can see how the camber changes with this. The longer the arms, the less the camber will change. And this will have a little bit better traction than a drift car. But, as I said, it's meant for jumping. Taller vehicles with grippy tires also tend to roll easier. But, I'm just trying to get to a jump really quick. Or, this works. You can see here how the suspension moves nicely, and I guess not, but I have other videos on how suspension moves. Either way. Now, in the event of crawler, you want a low center of gravity, so not really high like a monster truck, but not really low like a car. But you want the middle links, here and here, to really be as straight as possible. And then, or the lower and the upper links, to be as straight as possible. Because then the wheels will go forwards and back less, so your wheelbase will change less. And you'll have better articulation and so on. But the main thing is everything on this is very soft first. So if I come over here up to the wall, you can even already see it's already leaning a lot. And this will also do the thing where it'll lift and lower, just because of the suspension. But if you watch the tires, lock the differentials so all the wheels spin at the same time. Put it in four-wheel low, so it's four-wheel drive and low range, so it's really slow and lots of torque. And then if you watch the front tire, it'll flex as it goes up against the K-rail. Like so. And that gives it much more surface area to grip on. And then the soft suspension allows it to flex, more wheels on the ground, better stability and grip and all of that. Now with this car, I'm going to actually show how to tune it. So as you can see, this will slide, but it's still pretty controllable. It's not the fastest, but it works. However, if I go in, I'm doing extreme for this. If I go in, oh, that's not bad. Okay. So we go in and change, say, anti-roll. Let's just get rid of sway bars for now, anti-roll. So this stops the body. When you're going around the corner, I'm just going to apply this really quick. When you're going around a corner, the body of the car wants to roll to the outside of the corner. So say you're going left. As you're sitting in the car, you turn left. You can feel yourself kind of move to the right side of the seat. Well, the entire body wants to do that too, and without the sway bars, the entire body will lean. So if I go back to, let's use this. If I turn, like I said, you can see the entire body lean. And for grip, that's not good. Because as you can see, actually no, sorry. This might have a little bit more now. With independent suspension like this, yeah, it's more controllable at lower speeds, but less at higher speeds. Another thing, a car like this with independent suspension, as your body rolls, your camber and all that will adjust also. So say you have 5 degrees of camber on the front. The outside of your tire is going to be off the ground. However, when you're turning, because of the caster and all that, when you're turning in the body roll, the wheel will now be flat on the ground. Because of the caster, the inside tire will now be flat on the ground, therefore giving you better handling. So I'm going to go back in, put the roll bars all the way back up. I'm going to put the dampening all the way down, and the spring rate all the way up. Like I said, this is just extreme for video purposes. I'll adjust the camber so you can see what I was talking about with that. Excuse me. Camber, caster, and toe. The way I always remembered this is to remember toe, put your foot sideways and wiggle your toes. They should wiggle left to right. The toe on your car adjusts left to right, or in and out, so whether they're pointing towards each other or away from each other. A drift car might have toe out on the front and toe in on the back, so that the front, or even like a drag car might have toe in all the way around. But toe in on the front and toe out on the back would make, or the opposite of that, sorry, would make the front want to dart around and go into corners and stuff, but the back will want to stay in line with the front. And same with if you had a same with if it's straight, it's just as straight, but whatever. But based on that, the toe, you can then go to caster, which if you look at the point where the wheel turns, so I'll zoom in, and you can see where the wheel turns at the end of the arm, and then up to the top of the spring, because this is a strut. So if you go like this now, and picture a line going from the bottom of the ground straight up through the center of the wheel. That is on the axis of the caster. Now what that does is it leans the top of, you're going to say, the hub back, so that when you steer, your camber changes. I think I hit apply on this already, but anyways. And then your camber adjusts how far in and out the top of your wheel is, so the angle, as I said before. So now that I've changed the springs, the shocks, this should be really bouncy and really hard to drive. As it is. It doesn't even want to grip as I go. It just bounces. It should slide a lot, it should just bounce. It shouldn't really handle. It should understeer and slide. I'll be surprised if it grips at all. Which I'm surprised. But as you can see, it's way bouncier. Like, if you're racing, this is no good. So, what you want to do is you go in, or what I do at least, is I go in, and I make the vehicle look how I want. Body and whatnot. Go into the engine, choose what engine I want, what I feel is going to be good for the application. This is meant to be just a daily driver, so I didn't want it to be nuts. Just race exhaust, so it sounds better, better flow. Turbo, same again, sounds better, better flow, a bit more power. And there's a bit of upgrade. Suspension, independent front. Right, blah. I can't remember what I was getting at. Either way, with the tuning, what you'll want to start with is probably your tire pressure. As I said before, your tires are the main contributing factor to whether or not you're going to have grip or not. If you have really soft, like soft and compound tires, they're going to wear out faster, but you'll have much more grip. If you have a hard compound tire, you'll have less grip as it gets harder, but it'll last longer. With tire pressure, not enough tire pressure, the outsides of the tire, like by the sidewalls, will be putting more pressure than the middle of the tire. So it'll wear more, less grip, and so on. If you have too much pressure, the middle of the tire will bow, and you'll get a bald spot in the middle. Yeah, basically start with that. And then from there, I usually go to, I have to jog my memory as I go through this because I kind of do it by muscle memory. The track offset is just the width. So if I go like this, I'm also going to adjust the spring height so you can tell. So take a look at how wide it is and how tall it is. Another thing you want to take into consideration is the ride height. Again, if it's too tall, it'll want to roll a lot. If it's low, it's not going to roll as much, and it'll be more stable. But you're not going to have as much suspension travel. As you can see now, it's higher, and the wheels are out way more. If I lowered it, it'd be way more stable, but it should still be more stable because I spaced out the wheels. I will now go with, so basically with tuning, I like to go from the bottom up. Next, I guess I would do the spring rate and the bump dampening and whatnot, because this way, you can, and the roll bars, because now you can get the body and whatnot to act how you want relative to the ground, I'll say. So with a race car, you want it to be stiff and smooth. You're not dealing with bumps. So it can be really stiff, it'll be really tight on the track, and really good. But if you take that on the street, you're going to feel every bump you go over, so you don't want it as stiff. With a Baja truck, you're going to want it really soft because you're doing jumps and stuff. But there's always an extent you should go to. I'm just going to go over here really quick. After the suspension, I would usually do the aerodynamics. So the front lip, the rear wing, stuff like that, adjusting how much downforce there is. You can see with this truck now, it's super stiff, and it just, yeah, it doesn't handle very good anymore. Yeah. Sorry this tutorial's kind of all over the place, it's my ADHD and whatnot, but anyways. So after that, suspension and all that. Once you get it to handle how you want, I would go then to the transmission and get it to the speeds and whatnot that I want. What I usually do is I make it so the final drive, so like if you can use final drive ratio, that's what I do. In this, use 6th or 7th or whatever. But what I like to do is I like to get it so that the last gear, in my race cars at least, the last gear is basically run out as long as it can, but will still hit redline. So instead of, say, holding 5,000 RPM at 120, just for example, drop it down a little bit more, and it might get 140 at 6,500 RPM. Just a better ratio and whatnot. And then from there, I go through from first through to then the final drive so that I can get the shift points how I like it. And usually I put my shift points so each time I shift, the engine drops about 1,000 RPM. I don't know why I do it, it's just the way I like doing things. So this way, you end up with a long first gear, so therefore it's a bit harder to spin off the start, but if you're not careful, as the RPM rises, you can spin after. So you need to have throttle control. What else can I talk about? I'm not really sure. That's basically just the basics. I could show better on Forza. I don't really tune much on Beam. But if you just, hopefully this is helpful and understandable. But if you've made it this far, build the car how you want it. What you think looks good, what you think will perform good. Then kind of mess around with the tuning of it. Or even take a pre-made car and then mess around with tuning. In this, put all race stuff on it, so you can unlock all the tuning options, and then just play around. That's what I used to do. I just used to adjust stuff extremely so I could see what moved, and then I'd adjust it properly to see how it affected the car. And I've learned from there. So yeah, I can remake this in Forza because it's a lot easier for me to remake in Forza. But for now, hopefully this helps. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you have any advice for other people, feel free to add it in. And yeah, hopefully this jumble of info made sense. Like I said, I do this all by muscle memory, so trying to get it actually into words is hard. But as I said, hopefully this helps. Hopefully everyone understands decently and enough to start tuning and enjoy it. Because even if you take a stock car and then you tune it ever so slightly just to your preference, you then race against someone with the same car but not tuned, you're going to have an advantage. Whether you have more grip, more speed, whatever, even if your vehicle, performance-wise, doesn't gain an advantage, it can be more suitable to your driving style. And therefore, you will have an advantage in the sense of you know what to be prepared for with your car. You know when it's going to start sliding. You know when to shift and all that. So even if you're not good at tuning, do it anyways because it will personalize your car, get it better feeling to what you like. Yeah. But anyways, hopefully this helps. Thanks for watching.